Today's episode of Variant is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on Variant, I give you the history of one of my favorite comic book characters, Martian freaking Manhunter. Welcome to Variant, and we love comics more than every comic book fan should watch the Christmas with the Joker episode from Batman the Animated Series during the holidays. I know it's a tradition for me, so maybe you can make it one for you too. Anyway, I'm your host, Arris. Now, some of you may already know that Martian Manhunter is one of my all-time favorite superheroes. He actually came in at number 6 on my 10 Best Superheroes list episode several months back. So I know I'm excited to talk about Martian Manhunter, and hopefully you're excited to hear about him. So let's talk about him. Martian Manhunter first appeared in Detective Comics issue 225 in 1955 in the issue's backstory. That's right, he's been around for a long time. He was created by Joseph Samixon and Joe Certa, but let's get into his comic book origin because I want to talk about both his original origin and his New 52 origin. His original origin and or backstory goes a little something like this. John Jones is Martian Manhunter's real name. He's a keeper of the peace and an authority figure on the planet Mars. He has a vast array of powers and abilities. John is amongst the greatest to have ever served as a Manhunter and has protected his home for many years. One day, however, an Earth scientist named Dr. Saul Erdell was experimenting with alien technology in secret. While doing so, he accidentally transported John Jones from Mars to Earth. Realizing there was a 7-foot-tall Martian in front of him put the doctor in such shock his heart gave out. This left John stranded on a foreign planet with malfunctioning teleportation technology and no easy way home. So John, being the compassionate Martian he is, uses his time on Earth to help others, upholding truth and justice as he had done on Mars for so many years. He has taken many forms using his shapeshifting abilities and played many roles over the years, such as detective, spy, superhero, diplomat, and so on. John always uses his powers and abilities to protect the weak and serve the common good. But out of all those, he is most notably known for shapeshifting into a human form to be a detective when not being a superhero.
Who are you?
My name is John Jones. I'm a detective, just like you.
See? Detective, not green and stuff. Martian Manhunter eventually got his own series and wasn't just in backup stories anymore. Well, sorta. The book wasn't called Martian Manhunter, but he did headline the book called House of Mystery from issues 143 through 155. Soon after, the Manhunter was again put in backup stories. During the Silver Age of comic books, which is the time between the mid-1950s and 1970, one of the most notable things happened to Martian Manhunter. He became a founding member of the Justice League of America, which we see for the first time in The Brave and the Bold issue 28. As we worked our way into the Bronze Age of comics, which is the years between 1970 and 1985, we saw John leave the JLA and rejoin his people on Mars 2. He did return for occasional cameos, but was largely absent from publication during the 1970s. But then he rejoined the team in the 1984 War of the Worlds story arc, and has remained a staple of the Justice League pretty much ever since. After Crisis on Infinite Earths, John became a larger player in the DC universe, and starred in the popular Justice League International title, usually as the team's leader. With Grant Morrison's reboot of the JLA achieving new heights of popularity for the Justice League, the Manhunter from Mars achieved arguably his greatest exposure and was featured in a self-titled ongoing series which ran for 37 issues. Jumping ahead a little bit, Martian Manhunter was killed off in Final Crisis, but this is comic books, people, and characters rarely ever stay dead in comics. With that said, he was resurrected a few years later during the Blackest Night miniseries, and right after was featured in the Brightest Day miniseries. Now, soon after Brightest Day, the DC universe was completely rebooted with the DC's New 52, and of course Martian Manhunter was no exception. The New 52 rendition of Martian Manhunter is given in the backup pages of Justice League of America. Here, the Martian race is a telepathic race that is in full commune with one another as well as the planet itself. Jean is supposed to become the next leader of his people, and so must undertake a rite of passage where he must detach himself from his people and understand what it's truly like to be alone. Because the Martian race had no such concept, as it was a very communal race, and Jean needed the training in order to lead his people. Upon his return, Jean finds that the paradise he once knew was burning with not much left but ashes. Not a single psychic presence could be felt. Jean was now truly alone, standing in the burning ruins of his home planet. Jean adopted the name Manhunter and was in search for the being behind his misery. He eventually does end up tracking down the being that destroyed his planet and follows him to Earth, only to find out he's a body-hopping telepath named Thoth, whose infectious poisonous thoughts wiped out the Martian civilization. As Martian Manhunter tries to kill the telepath, its consciousness escapes and is set loose on Earth. As for what Jean is up to in general in the New 52, he was reintroduced as a member of the covert Stormwatch organization, which had previously appeared exclusively in the comics set in DC's Wildstorm Comics imprint. So in the New 52, Martian Manhunter is not a founding member of the Justice League, but it is hinted in several different New 52 comics that he was a member of the Justice League for a brief time. In Stormwatch issue 12, John quits the team and uses his telepathy to erase his existence from the minds of his Stormwatch teammates. After this, John goes back to his roots and joins the New 52 version of the Justice League of America. The New 52 Justice League of America is formed by Amanda Waller and Steve Trevor. The team was created to take down the original Justice League in case they ever got out of line, so each member was specifically chosen to take on certain members of the original Justice League, and of course Martian Manhunter was chosen to take on freaking Superman. That should just give you an idea of how powerful John is, but I'll get into his powers later. Most recently, John and a few select members of the Justice League of America, along with some new members, have formed a new Justice League team called Justice League United. The team was formed after the events of Forever Evil due to the Justice League of America being forced to disband. And I gotta say, I'm really enjoying the Justice League United series, so if you're looking for a good team book to read, I definitely would recommend it. Now, whenever you think of Martian Manhunter, you also now think of Miss Martian due to her popularity increasing because of the Young Justice cartoon, which was amazing, by the way, and needs to be brought back. Miss Martian, or her real name Megan Morris, is a young white Martian. White Martians are a similar race to that of Martian Manhunters, but usually evil. Long story short, she wanted to be good, so she came to Earth and joined the Teen Titans. Martian Manhunter acts as a mentor of sorts for her and allows her to stay on Earth while maintaining her respect for him by keeping the same green skin color. That's just a super brief summary, but I'll get into more of her in a future History of Miss Martian episode. But now it's time to talk about some powers and abilities, and Martian Manhunter almost has an endless amount, so I won't be able to mention all of them, but I will give you a pretty good overview. The Martian Manhunter possesses vast amounts of superhuman strength, comparable to Superman's strength, easily making him one of the strongest beings in the DC universe. John can further supplement his strength by increasing his size. His great strength has also been shown by his ability to harm Superboy Prime, which if you don't know, that's a feat in itself. I mean, John can stand toe-to-toe with Superman in a fight, not to mention he has held his own against the entire Justice League by himself. I just feel like he's a highly underrated character by most people, especially when it comes to how powerful he is. In fact, writer and chief creative officer of DC Comics Jeff Johns is even quoted saying the New 52 will make Martian Manhunter the most dangerous character in the DC universe. He is just a beast of a character, having a crap ton of other abilities like invulnerability, flight, super speed, stamina, regeneration, shape-shifting, intangibility, invisibility, telepathy, telekinesis, Martian vision, Martian breath, sonic scream, psionic blast, psionic shield, X-ray vision, and the list goes on. He's just such a cool character. With all that said, Martian Manhunter does have a weakness, which is fire, but even Superman has kryptonite, so what are you gonna do? In the New 52, it has been revealed that much like previous origins, John has a psychosomatic weakness to fire, stemming from the traumatic fire-related destruction of his race, which I mentioned earlier. But it is noted that his body is still ultimately invulnerable, even as he is being affected by the fire. Like this panel, where Martian Manhunter even says, "Rationally, fire can do me no harm. It cannot, it should not, but it does. But it didn't used to." Layman's terms, it's all in his head. Now, before I give you some Martian Manhunter reading recommendations, I want to give you some TV recommendations because he's been in a bunch of great cartoon series like Justice League Unlimited, The Batman, and Young Justice. So if you want to see him on the small screen, any of those are highly recommended. I actually believe Justice League Unlimited, and Young Justice are all on Netflix streaming, but don't quote me on that, they may have taken it down, so check for yourself. As for reading recommendations, we have Brave and the Bold issue 28, Detective Comics issue 225, Justice League of America volume 1 from the New 52, Justice League United series, JLA Trial by Fire, Martian Manhunter Others Among Us, and Justice League International Volume 1. Those are just a few to get you guys started. When you buy a domain name from domain.com, you get the power to influence and control what people find when they search for you online. No domain extension will help you tell your story like a .com or .net domain name. Domain.com is affordable, reliable, and easy to use. The guys at domain.com gave Variants an awesome offer. Get 15% off domain.com's already affordable domain names and web hosting when you use the coupon code VARIANT at checkout. So when you think domain names, think domain.com. First up for Wednesday, December 17th, we have Witches issue 3. This series is Scott Snyder's reimagining of what witches are, what they want, and quite frankly, how awesomely scary they can be. Next, we have All New X-Men issue 34. The All New X-Men continue their adventure in the Ultimate Universe, and in this issue, one of my favorite Spider-Man, Miles Morales, guest stars. Now we have Justice League issue 37. Superheroes are no more, and the world is on the brink of a new stage of evolution, and it's up to the Justice League to save it. Here we have Batman Superman issue 17. I'm really enjoying this series. It's a fun, action-packed book that definitely keeps you interested, and in this story arc we find out who is Superman's Joker. And finally we have Batman issue 37. This story arc has been crazy thus far. In the first issue, Batman fought most of the Justice League. In the second, he fought Superman, and now the Clown Prince of Crime is back and more pissed off than ever. Well, that brings another episode of Variant to a close, but remember, you can always like our Variant Facebook page to keep up with the show and all things comic related. You can also follow me on Twitter if you so wish at twitter.com/Arris_Quinones. But I will see you guys next week when I talk about what? I'm sure you guys said all things comics.
Hey Variant, if I could choose one superpower, I would go with telekinesis.
If I would have any kind of superpower, I would be Hulk. Definitely Hulk.
I would choose the Flash because then I can run fast, get places quicker, and walk through walls.
I would definitely want to have psychokinesis because then I'd be able to fly and I'd just be throwing stuff all over the place with my mind.
The ability to manipulate matter.
Hey Arris, I gotta say that if I could pick a power, I think I would pick super speed, but specifically the level of super speed that Flash has.
My superpower would be complete mastery of the Speed Force.